Let's talk Monday night football. Of course, we had two games last night. Bills look good. Jags look bad, real bad. Commanders are frisky. What are your first takes on these, Bobby?
Well, that Bills Jags game, man. Well, first off, having two Monday night games drives me insane. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. The NFL has a stranglehold on everything TV related. I don't know why we're doing this, but dude, the Bills are incredible, man. They're the highest scoring team in the league right now with the seventh best scoring defense. They had, for me, I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought the Bills were going to fall off, maybe even miss the playoffs. They're the second most vacated targets this past year. And, losing Stephon Diggs, losing Gabe Davis, didn't matter. We got Keon Coleman scoring a touchdown on his only catch. We got Khalil Shakir playing the new Stephon Diggs. It's been wild, man. They lost Matt Milano on the defensive side of the ball, Micah Hyde. They are getting it done. Josh Allen, I think, is, man, I don't know if you can call him underrated, but this dude is, he's carrying this team. And he played so well. And the other side of the ball, the Jaguars, man, they are on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. They are 30th in offense. They're 28th in defense. Trevor Lawrence is completing 53% of his passes this year. 16 of his last 22 games, he's thrown one or less touchdowns. Mike, I don't know if you're keeping track of that, but less touchdowns than one is zero. That's not very good, my friend.
No. I wonder personally if he's still, if he lost confidence or he's dealing with it, the shoulder issue he had towards the end of last year. My feeling on the Bills, Bobby, you pointed out a lot of question marks about the receivers. Josh Allen spreading the ball around last night, right? What was it? 10 different players caught a pass last night. Was it addition by subtraction in losing Stephon Diggs? Not so much because, he's a good player, brings a lot of production, but because personality wise, maybe they're better off without him. And Gabe Davis didn't give him a lot of production last year. What do you think about that?
Didn't this happen in Minnesota? They go out, they get Stephon Diggs. He looks great. Next thing you know, he's whining and belly aching and moaning in the locker room. They get rid of him. He ends up in Buffalo, one of the best receivers in the league. Starts whining, belly aching, moaning in the locker room. They get rid of him. He's in Houston right now doing pretty well. He's at least a wide receiver two. Nico Collins, I'd still say, is a wide receiver one down there. It's happening again. But yeah, man, sometimes you got to get, I don't like using the word cancer. That's a little too serious, but you have someone that's, bringing the folks around you down, and it's good, man. You get them out of there and everybody can grow.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Jaguars 30th in scoring offense. Doug Peterson's supposed to be a QB whisperer. What's going on there, and what is the status of maybe his job security right now?
Yeah, I don't know who he's whispering to, but it's not the quarterback. Come on. And the same thing happened with him in Philadelphia, if you remember. He was there. They played really well right when he got there. And then they fell off. His last season, the Eagles were 4-12 before they kicked him to the curb.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the same thing all over again. Now I'm wondering if it really was Urban Meyer, though. Yeah, Doug Peterson's not doing well. Neither did Urban Meyer. But what are we doing, Trevor Lawrence? How could everyone be wrong? He's the best thing since Andrew Luck, the best thing since Peyton Manning. Good grief. Best thing since John Elway. Best prospect, right? How could everyone be wrong? Everyone.
I don't know. And I'm looking at the Jags rushing stats. And if you took out Trevor Lawrence, who has 5 carries for 56 yards this year, Jags are still averaging almost 5 yards a carry, and they're getting their running backs an average, or they're running the ball on average about 20 times this year. So I don't know. Maybe do more of that.
Yeah, but they made some bonehead moves too. Think about like when they took Trayvon Walker first overall over Aiden Hutchinson. What are we doing? That was an absolute no-brainer first pick. And look at Hutchinson. He had 4.5 sacks or 5 sacks 2 weeks ago. That guy's a monster. And Walker, yeah, he plays okay. He has his moments, but he's nowhere near the franchise defensive player that Aiden Hutchinson is. And decisions like that. I know Christian Kirk played pretty well for you 3 years ago, right when you signed him. You paid him too much money, though. Gabe Davis, what did he do in Buffalo? He had one awesome playoff game, right? Then he either catches a 65-yard touchdown or he gets you one catch for 12 yards. It's very silly moves for me.
Yeah. Oh. Uh, would throw in on the Commanders here, Alex. Well, on Monday night or just about Gabe Davis? Oh, yeah. Do you want to touch on the other Monday night game? Because I got to do two.
I'm done on Gabe Davis. That guy's a joke,
No, no, not Gabe. Yeah, but the Commanders.
dude.
I want to take. Yeah, well,
I would love to
let's.
talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I think this game was a surprise to just about everyone. Washington Commanders going into Cincinnati, and gosh, they kind of spanked them pretty good. I know the Bengals were coming back towards the end, but my gosh, that was awesome. Washington right now is fifth in the NFL in points scored. Raise your hand if you were alive the last time I think anyone could say that, because I mean, I'm not sure I was, and I've been around for a couple decades here. The defense, though, 29th in points given up and yards, not great. However, you have a really good offense, really bad defense. Now, this is a recipe for a lot of fun games to watch, especially a lot of fantasy goodness if you play fantasy, that kind of stuff. But how about zero turnovers for the offense? We are week 3 and we have zero turnovers for the Washington Commanders. Again, raise your hand if you remember that happening, because I certainly don't. And dude, what if I told you that Washington was going to start the year 7-2? Because we know their record right now, we're 2-1. Next week they have Arizona. That seems like a winnable game. Then they have Cleveland. I don't know what the heck Cleveland's doing. Baltimore, your Ravens, Mike, that's probably gonna be an L right there. But then we have Carolina. Granted, the Red Rifles leading the charge there now, but Chicago and then the Giants. There's a real chance that Washington starts 7-2, which was on nobody's bingo card. Um, and I've been screaming for months that Jane Daniels was the real QB1 of this draft class. I think if you watch the film of both him and Caleb Williams, I struggle to know why you wouldn't think that as well. But this guy just set an NFL record for the highest completion percentage by a rookie in a single game with at least 20 attempts. Also, the highest completion percentage in a game by any Washington Commander football team or Redskin of all time. If you really paid attention to that game, man, that rookie was running that offense. It was so impressive. He's directing people, telling people, no, 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 you're not there. You're over here. He's yelling at Cliff Kingsbury on the sideline. Give me the play. Let's go for it on 4th down. I was very, very impressed by his ability to lead that offense and captain his squad.
And Cliff Kingsbury, some guys, they're not the greatest head coaches. They make for much better offensive coordinators, play callers. Commanders play the Cardinals next week. Wonder if Cliff Kingsbury will take that game personally, draw up some really interesting plays against his old squad. Uh, by the way, for also good statistic, first game in the NFL since 1940. No punts, no turnovers.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Dude, Mike, I got a quick question for you. Pop quiz. You ready?
Yeah.
This goes along with a bold prediction I had in the preseason. Do you know the last time that we've had somebody rush for 20 touchdowns in one NFL year?
Oh my God. Are we going back to like LT or Sean Alexander, or are we
You
not
tell
going
me,
back?
Mike.
I'm
You
gonna
are the
guess
smart man.
Adrian Peterson. I don't know because I feel like this is a trick question where we got to go back like a decade or so.
A decade? How about 2006, Mike? But you were right, Mr. LaDainian
Was
Tomlinson.
it
He
Tomlinson?
he had
Wow, it's been that
28.
long. Yeah, well, we
28.
had a string of a few years where it was like Tomlinson did it, and then Holmes. I think I'm sorry, Alexander, and he had broken Priest Holmes' record, who I think had broken Marshall Faulk's record, and it was just, I mean, it's a different era.
Mike, that wasn't my bold prediction, though. My bold prediction in the preseason that we were going to have two guys rush for 20 touchdowns this season. Do you know when the last time that happened was?
Oh my God, it's probably in the '90s. If I had to guess.
Probably just the year before LaDainian Tomlinson scored 28. It was
Oh, Sean Alexander.
2005 and Larry Johnson.
Johnson, yeah. Priest Holmes had a that was pretty much the end of his run, yeah.
Dude, right now we have 4 guys with 4 rushing touchdowns. And then we have another, 5 or 6 that have 3 rushing touchdowns. So listen, I know we're only 3 weeks in, but I'm feeling pretty good about this bold prediction, my friend.
Longer season now. Got an extra week for these guys to do it.
And passing yards are historically low right now.
Wow. All right, let's stay on the theme though, since well, we talked about the Commanders, but their opponent last night, Cincinnati Bengals, 0-3. Why can't first of all, why can't Joe Burrow and the Bengals win within the first few weeks of the season? This is like what the third or fourth time that they're like 0-2 or 1-2. Now they're 0-3. What's going on?
How much do they play in the preseason,
Oh man, I mean
the starters? Because
nothing.
I mean, you check out these teams. A lot of these folks that aren't playing in the preseason, there's a lot of rust, dude. And I understand that. Oh yeah, we don't want to play in the preseason. We don't want to get injured. This and that. Dude, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure there's statistics out there and data somewhere, studies done. I'm assuming prove that teams stay more healthy when they don't play their starters, but I'm struggling to see the payoff in the regular season. I mean, these Bengals, dude, they do not look good. And they look decent at times last night. But again, that was against, what did I say, the 29th ranked defense of the Washington Commanders. You're
Yeah.
supposed to look good against them, but you still couldn't get it done. You still couldn't bring home a W. It's not good.
It looked like almost like a hangover from that loss to the Chiefs. Uh, Ravens, they barely hang on to a 28-6 lead. I don't know what this whole thing is with fourth quarter leads. I mean, they seem to be really good at letting the other team back in the game. But Derrick Henry, the closer.
Dude, he's one of my guys with 4 rushing touchdowns right now.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Um,
got a lot more.
yeah. Well, so if we think about last season, the Ravens had the 4th best scoring offense in the league and the best scoring defense in the league. Do you know where they sit right now, Mike?
Oh, they've got to be near the bottom in scoring defense. They've given up 27, 26, and 25. So getting better
Correct.
each game, but
Yep. They only have the 11th best offense, which still, look, that's pretty good. But they have the 24th best defense, and they've given up a league worst
mm,
875 passing yards. That is very unraven like. They have the number 1 run defense, but why would you run the ball when you can throw it all over the yard? You know, Mike, from previous conversations we've had, I am not and have never been a Lamar Jackson guy.
hmm.
Um, and I've really tried to be a John Harbaugh guy, but I'm struggling, buddy. I am struggling on what's going on in Baltimore. They've been historically dominant in the regular season, and then we choke in the playoffs. But now they did everything they could. Was it 27-6 in the fourth quarter, something like that,
Yeah, 28 to
against the
6.
Cowboys? Dude, I mean, they did everything they could to give that game away.
Hey, maybe Mike McDonald was a real genius. He's 3-0 over in Seattle. Defense has a lot of holes. Personally, I think they just need a change, if for no other reason than this is Harbaugh's 17th season. I mean, a lot of times it's just we need a new voice. We need a new leader. It's not that the game has passed him by. It's not that another team wouldn't love to have John Harbaugh as a coach, but I don't know. It just feels like this team's underperformed the
I'll
last
make
few.
it. I'll make a deal with you, Mike. I'll trade you Nick Sirianni, and you give me John Harbaugh, because I had a coach for quite a while in Philly, and then we got rid of him, and now he's just winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl
Yeah.
with the Kansas City Chiefs. So you give me the guy that you're tired of, and we'll see if maybe he can do his best Andy Reid and get us some championships.
Well, John Harbaugh's position before he became Ravens head coach, right?
Special teams coordinator for my Philadelphia
That's right,
Eagles.
under Andy Reid. Yeah, we're gonna come back to Nick Sirianni and the Eagles in our next little bit, but let's finish up here on the AFC North. Steelers 3-0. Bobby, eating your words a little bit about Mike Tomlin and the Browns not looking so hot.
Is Mike Tomlin on the Mount Rushmore of NFL head coaches?
He's each 9-8 or better season he produces, I think he's getting closer.
Dude, I hate the Steelers, and it is completely out of jealousy. They've had 3 coaches in 60 plus years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the Packers in the quarterback situation. They get Brett Favre for forever, and then Aaron Rodgers comes in, and now they got Jordan Love. It's like, dude, you need to know what it's like to start Kevin Cobb. You know what it's like to get, to have Kyle Bowler running the helm of your team. You don't get it, man. I am so jealous of the, but look, good for them. It's awesome. Right now, they have the best defense in football and a top 12 rushing offense. This is
Good.
how.
And yeah. Well, 230 yards a game allowed on defense. Points, what are they giving up? 10, 10, and 10, right? And all, yeah. Maybe no, they've given up 26 points. I beg your pardon in 3 games. I mean, man alive, and the quarterback's doing just enough to not screw anything up for 3 weeks, right?
Dude, you have the best defense in football. You have a top 12 rushing offense. This is how teams have won football games for decades. I
Mm-hmm.
understand high power offenses do the same thing, but don't be fooled by teams like Kansas City Chiefs last year. Yeah, Pat Mahomes is great, obviously, but they had the second best defense in football last year. That is why they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, his career completion percentage by year, 58.9%, 60.4%, and 61.4%. Do you know what his completion percentage this year is so far?
25%. No, he's got to be up there. He's got to be doing well.
73%.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me it's the weapons. I mean, is Pat Fryermuth that much better than Cole Kmet? I mean, the dude had David Montgomery on the Chicago team, DJ Moore. Is Darnell Mooney that much worse than Calvin Austin? No, dude, it's this coaching staff, and they are phenomenal.
And on the other side of the coin, we finish up quickly here on the AFC North. Cleveland Browns, second worst offense in the league through 3 weeks, only 248 yards per game. Boy, how's that contract for Deshaun Watson looking now?
Dude, he is the new Albert Hainsworth,
Mm.
or Kenny Galladay for our younger listeners here. Dude, Deshaun Watson signed that deal, man, and he just quit playing real football. He was just like, I got my money. I am out of here. You guys have a good one. I'm embarrassed myself for a year or two. Dude, they lost to the Giants. They have the third most pass attempts, but the 30th most yards.
Yeah.
If you're going to throw that much, put in Jameis Winston, let him do his best Joe Flacco, and chuck that thing all over the field. This is not Cleveland Brown football. Well, they lost Nick Chubb. How can they run the ball? Jerome Ford's averaging 5 yards a carry this year. Oh, it's irritating. Can you imagine what a statement it would be if they benched Deshaun Watson? If they just walked in and were like, dude, we're on to you, man. You're out of here. Hit the bench. We'll pay you what we got to pay you, but you're done.
Yeah. Well, Flacco gave him a magical ride last year. That probably showed something right there, then and there. It's too bad because I got a defense that's actually in the top half of the league. But hey, such is life for a lot for 3/4 of the AFC North right now under 500. All right, let's finish up with your team, Bobby. We could talk a little Nick Sirianni. You brought his name up earlier. The Philadelphia Eagles are 2-1. They're in a lot better position than a lot of other teams, at least in the standings. Give us your thoughts. Road win against the Saints. I know it wasn't pretty, but 15-12, you held New Orleans 12 after they put up in the 40s the first 2 games. So encouraged? Do you sound discouraged? What do you take away from that game?
It is very difficult for me to like this Philadelphia Eagles team. And it's the same thing. Yes, I understand we held the Saints to 12 points, but it's the same problem year after year with giving up big plays. And honestly, it was just a lot of, in my opinion, luck with Rashid Shaheed just missed his big play that he made the first 2 weeks. And grant the run defense is usually a little better, shutting down Kamara. But I feel like they didn't. How many targets did Kamara have? I didn't see them trying to pepper him with targets. Which
He had 3 targets.
right, if you're playing the Philadelphia Eagles defense, your running backs should have 7 or 8 targets at least, because they've historically struggled to cover running backs and tight ends and all that good stuff. But
Well, but speaking of tight ends, Saints didn't do a good job covering Dallas Goedert. He put up 10 for 170.
yeah, but 65 of those came on one play when 3 Saints defenders all ran into each other on one play. I mean, that's a busted play. And yeah, it certainly counts and fills a stat sheet, but it's not like it was a great scheme of a play or anything. It is so irritating watching so many points go off the board because Nick Sirianni wants to pull his chest hair out and go for it on 4th down over and over and over. And
Sounds like Jim Harbaugh, yeah.
I get it. Some of these play calls work, like the Saquon Barkley play last week. Yes, it should have been completed. It should have worked. But you know what? A field goal in that situation, or a run up the middle in that situation would have been great because you'd have taken so much time off the clock. It's miserable clock management. It's horrible play calling. And I've watched this movie happen before. Um, under, um, Nick Sirianni, they were 9-8 when he came in, 13-3 the next season, made it to the Super Bowl. Dude, Doug Peterson was 7-9 his first year, and then 13-3 and made it to the Super Bowl. The following season, Peterson lost Frank Reich. Sirianni lost both Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen. They both fell off. Peterson had one more year after that, and he was gone. And look, Sirianni, man, I know we're 2-1, but I think if he doesn't win at least one playoff game, he's gone.
And that was going to be my question. Look, they were averaging 7 yards of play on offense, so the overall offensive stat sheet looks good for Philadelphia. They were the best team in football, at least record wise, up until that 49ers debacle last year. They were what 10-1, 11-1, and then had a miserable finish to the season. Only won one game and got blown out in the playoffs by Tampa. They start off 2-1 this year. They do have wins over Green Bay and New Orleans, which again, looks pretty good on paper. So you feel like Sirianni's got to win at least a postseason game to keep his job.
I do, and he's very unlikable. I know there was, last year everything's falling apart. The players, he doesn't have control of the locker room anymore. Dude, that man, I don't know if it was true or not, but it might have been. I know the fans don't really like him that much. He comes off, he's so brash, and I don't think he's a good coach when things are hard. I don't think he knows how to motivate his players when they're not motivated. When everything is, all hunky dory and we're winning ball games and we're crushing people, that's easy. And I think he's good at that. I think he's very rah rah. He's up and down the sidelines, hooping and hollering and yelling and, dancing with the team. That's all well and good. But what are we doing whenever things get tough? Because no matter who you are during an NFL season, things are going to get hard. Who are you then? And I don't think he's that guy.
Well, we'll see. I mean, again, they had to get off to a good start this year to kind of get that taste out of their mouths of the way last season ended, where they really not just lost a lot of those games down the stretch, but lost badly, looked like a completely out of sync outfit. You're right. Not the prettiest 2-1. There's still a lot of time to correct some things. We'll see if they do that. So very interesting. And for the Saints, just maybe 20 seconds on the Saints. Well, where does this put them after two great blowout wins to start the year?
Dude, they're playing with house money right now, man.
Yeah.
They're not. They could easily be 1-2 or 0-3. With how they played last year. Just let it roll, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Let Carr air that thing out. Throw that deep ball. Do your thing, man. If I'm a Saints fan, I'm excited because it almost seems like I said, they're playing with house money and they're playing like they have nothing to lose. So you might as well rack them up.
You want to finish on maybe a couple bold predictions for this coming week or something?
I had to let me get the schedule up here real quick. I tell you what though, you mentioned the San Francisco 49ers. They got some rough news. CMC, Christian McCaffrey, he's headed to Germany to get work on his Achilles tendonitis. Man, you don't go to Germany unless it's bad. And I'm here. I heard someone talking today. They have a bye week in week 9. So week 10 could be when he comes back. And then they just lost Javon Hargrave for the season. And he was one of the most underrated big time losses that I think Philly had from 2 years ago from that Super Bowl run when they lost Javon Hargrave. That guy is would he have double digit sacks from the defensive tackle position? I mean, that guy that's going to be a big loss for them on the inside. So I made a preseason bowl prediction of the Niners missing the playoffs, and that one's not looking too bad either.
Yeah. I mean, wow, who would have thought it gets started out pretty ugly, the injuries for San Francisco. Of course, Christian McCaffrey will be out. The 49ers play the Chiefs in, I think, week 7. Chiefs get the Chargers this week with a whole slew of players out. Starting to see the writing on the wall. How about that terrible call on 4th and inches last week for Atlanta? Just wanted to get some thoughts on that because that was, oh boy.
Which play was that, Mike? What was the play called?
A stretch outside run or something. I mean, just fall forward with Kirk Cousins. You get it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, man. Bijan, I don't want to say Bijan, but the Falcons couldn't get it together. And Bijan's one of the best running backs in the league. I couldn't believe that they weren't, running at a better clip than they were. And obviously Tyler Algier, they put him in a spell. Bijan, he's not the same back. But I still don't understand why we can't get Kyle Pitts involved. I know he had a 55-yard catch and then, like a 3-yard catch. I just don't know why it's so difficult to get. Do you know the last time there was a tight end selected in the top 4 picks, Mike, in the NFL draft?
Oh, did we? Was it like Mike Ditka? Are we going back that far?
No, no, Mike Ditka was, but he wasn't the most recent one. It was some dude you've never heard of in like 1972 for the Denver Broncos.
Hmm.
I mean, it's crazy, and the fact that you have all of those picks, him and Drake London, all these top 10 picks on the offense, and we can't. I don't know how we can't. Someone is so athletic and so talented as Kyle Pitts. Why we can't get him the ball?
Fair point.
Um,
And why can't you just fall forward when you need an inch?
right, I know,
Just shove
man.
Cousins. Do the tush push on him. I know he's a smaller guy than Jalen Hurts, but just you know.
Listen, leave Kirky out of this. He's got a bad everything. His poor
Yeah.
Achilles. He doesn't even have one of them. You leave him out of this. He didn't do anything to you, Mike. He's a good guy. He's a nice fella.
He is, but he could have really gotten in my good graces if he pulled off that upset against the Chiefs.
So I don't know if this would be a bold prediction, Mike, but how fun would it be if the Cincinnati Bengals roll in to the Carolina Panthers stadium and the old red rifle comes waddling out of the locker room and just puts it on them again. So before Sunday, I think it went back to like 2020 that Andy Dalton had the most passing yards in a single game for the Carolina Panthers over the last like 5 years. And he only had one start during that time. It was like his only start. He went out through like 364 yards and had the most passing yards in a single game by Carolina Panther. And then he goes out and dominates again. I would love to see Joe Burrow and company come into Andy Dalton's house now and have Dalton put it on him. Obviously, you would too. You're that.
Yeah, I
Put
would
them.
love to see the Bengals go 0-4 at the expense of Andy Dalton. Surprise win. A shout out to Alex. He made the call, bumping Andy Dalton on the start for Carolina. I mean, after the first 2 games for Carolina, boy, that just points out how bad Bryce Young has been. That you just plug Dalton in and you suddenly beat the Vegas Raiders on the road by 22, who had just beaten the Ravens in Baltimore to send them to 0-2. So I either Dalton is amazing and has found the 2013 version of himself, or Bryce Young is that bad. 14-point win over the Raiders. Still same difference.
I'll be honest. Looking at this lineup for the games this week 4, I think we're going to have some good ball games. I don't see a whole lot of matchups that are like blowouts. Obviously, the Cowboys at the Giants is probably not going to be very pretty. Chiefs at Chargers probably won't look too good, but I feel like we're pretty well matched up. I mean, you have the higher end teams, you got the Bills and the Ravens, right? Buffalo coming into your house, Mike, M&T Bank Stadium. I think that'll be a nice one.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, literally every other game seems winnable by each team. I know we talked last time I was on the show about how close the spreads were. I'd be interested to see what the spreads are for this week's games. I mean,
Well,
Saints, Falcons.
largest spread
Monthly
this week is
spreads.
10 for the 49ers against the Patriots.
But see, the 49ers are hurting. If Debo's out again, obviously McCaffrey's out. If Kittle's out again, we saw what that Patriots defense did to the Bengals in week 1. Now, granted, the Bengals don't seem to be who we thought they may be, but I don't know. Maybe. I mean, that's a long trip for New England to make, but I could see that defense stepping up, getting in Purdy's face, and if they shut down that offense, I don't know what Drake May and Jacoby Brissett and company are going to be able to do on their side of the ball, but 10 points? I might take the Pats to cover that.
10 points, Chiefs 8.5. Any chance the Chargers pull the upset with all their injuries against mighty Kansas City?
No, don't be silly. When's the last time Kansas City lost to the Chargers? Has that happened
once. Mahomes has never lost on the road to the Chargers. He's never lost on the road to the Raiders.
Right. See?
Yeah.
So
rough
no,
time
Mike.
for the Chargers to be getting the Chiefs with all their injuries.
Not going to happen. I'll tell you, but these games are going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.